Display, dismay. Do colourful displays and wordy notice boards adorn the corridors of your school? Have you ever questioned their presence? Do they impact your day? Maybe not. Even so, there is a strong possibility they affect countless pupils on the autism spectrum. As a teaching assistant working one-to-one with numerous autistic individuals, there have been many times when I have cursed what is, for the most part, tokenistic sensory clutter. While displays have been a mainstay in schools for decades, our much improved knowledge of the range of sensory processing impairments that affect a significant number of pupils with special educational needs should prompt a fresh discussion on how we decorate our schools. Looking at the current utilities of school displays, I will proceed under the assumption that special education practitioners understand some of the potential consequences of sensory processing deficits. Displays can be loosely split into two categories: informative and decorative. Informative. This form of display highlights information that is often required by law, building regulations and standards on doors, walls and equipment, signposts to different areas or members of staff, and health and safety protocols, for example, emergency evacuations. Additionally, informative displays may include ever-changing school notice boards, rules, slogans and awards that the school has achieved. Classrooms often include much of the aforementioned information with the addition of displays about pupils' needs and/or educational targets. These often come with information relating to how schools track and record progress. Much of the legal stuff will be required to be on show and in a particular colour and format. Where possible, it is perhaps best to designate a specific area for these rather than have them spread randomly. In an age of online updates and instant access to records, it is fair to say that news notice boards and awards in areas that students access are perhaps obsolete. While these could go elsewhere, it is hard to argue against classrooms displaying their pupils' needs, particularly if they are medical. For items that are not regulatory but otherwise necessary, thought should be given to their location, colour and formatting. Could they be placed together with minimum writing and softer colours? Regarding targets being displayed in some classrooms, this is a somewhat tokenistic gesture for hypothetical visitors who may wish to gauge what the pupils are working on by reading some information from a board. A simple folder would suffice for those visitors. Support staff, on the other hand, know their pupils, and if they do not, that same folder would suffice. Of course, every single school will be different in their use of signage, but with legal requirements alone, our walls are already filling up with sensory clutter. Hopefully this section may prompt a rethink on how we position and format much of the information that is necessary to display. Gone should be the days that we plant the same bit of non-compulsory information on every wall. Decorative. In addition to information, schools often cover large swaths of their corridors and classrooms with pupils' work. Giant colourful montages constructed out of numerous materials that tend to protrude from the walls. As heartless as it may sound, it is these loud, inescapable displays of pupils' work that often induce the most distress. A pleasant viewing for some, and a potential sensory bombardment for many others. There are three strong cases for these displays. The first is decorative. They brighten the place up and showcase schoolwork to visitors. In my experience, people often cite the colourful environment of a school as a positive aspect of their visit. Similarly, I have heard negativity expressed about schools that have blank walls and employ a low stimulation approach throughout. However, rarely does an individual who recognises the potential for overwhelming stimuli criticise such precautions. Secondly, it is an opportunity to showcase examples of good work to parents and inspire others. It may be argued that, upon seeing their own work, these displays may contribute positively to a pupil's self-esteem. This may be the case, but to what degree? Can work be shown in a less intrusive and more concise way? Could the work be put in a specific room or folder? Differing schools will have a range of interactions between their pupils and work displays. We will explore one shortly. Aside from being a distraction, any one display has the potential to, at best, elicit anxiety in those who anticipate too much stimuli and at worst cause a sensory overload, physical pain and subsequent atypical behaviours, i.e. becoming unresponsive or enacting aggressive movements. The final reason for decorating the walls with pupils' work is because Ofsted inspectors may consider these displays as evidence of spiritual, moral, social and cultural learning. Again, a specific room or folder with adequate evidence should suffice for inspectors who are often well informed about the benefits of a low stimulation approach. Weighing up the potential cost and rewards of unnecessary sensory clutter, I believe it is perhaps time we re-evaluate their impact. Teachers and support staff who have worked with autistic individuals in any school setting will be aware of the potential for something in the environment to impair students' progress. This may be a range of stimuli that affects their ability to freely transition from one area to another, or it may be specific visuals or sounds that distract from educational tasks. It is not uncommon that many pupils who have sensory processing issues cannot articulate their experiences, particularly those autistic individuals with additional intellectual impairments. So, my question in regards to inescapable tokenistic sensory clutter is it worth the risk? While the benefits of reducing such clutter may not be immediately evident on paper, those with sensory processing deficits and those supporting them will notice any improvements. Again, all schools will be different, but before concluding, I would like to share a humorous anecdote from my own experience that may resonate with others. One day, I walked into a classroom and upon witnessing a teacher reconstructing a mostly destroyed display for the umpteenth time, they turned to me and asked flatly whether I knew the definition of madness. Having engaged with numerous teachers from both special and mainstream schools over the course of writing this, there is one general area of agreement. For one reason or another, alongside being a source of distraction, the primary engagement between students and displays involves destruction. While I mostly sympathise with the autistic people walking the sensory gauntlet on a daily basis, I also feel for the teachers who work hard on their displays and have them pulled down on a regular basis, only then for me to suggest that they do more harm than good. The function of displays is just one area all schools will consider in regards to their environments. While I personally advocate for wholesale change regarding tokenistic and unnecessary sensory clutter, I am not suggesting that anything less is inadequate. On the contrary, many schools have a good understanding of the sensory processing needs of their autistic pupils and have begun to make initial adjustments such as providing low stimulation working spaces and sensory equipment, for example ear defenders and squeeze vests. Displays play into a much wider conversation regarding sensory processing impairments and the entire environment. A low stimulation approach involves much more than our school's decor, but I would stress that an honest conversation about the function of displays is a good place to begin.